Hi. Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Money Made Simple webinar, How Your Values Transform Your Money and Lifestyle. It's an interesting topic, money. It's not really something that we all particularly like to talk about, but it's something that we all think about, and it comes up in our daily lives. So it's relatively difficult to ignore. And the concept of lifestyle in particular is very important, because money in itself is just a tool. So ultimately, what do we want it for? And that's to create a lifestyle, both for us and our families now, and then also the sort of lifestyle that we want for when we retire as well. It's sort of trying to plan for now and also live and enjoy, but then have a vision for the future as well. So this webinar is going to focus more on the value side of things, because that's one of the sort of foundational areas. If we understand what the values are, it helps us understand what to do with our money to help us reach our lifestyle. So I'll cover three things in this webinar, which is what are values, so that we understand what we're actually talking about, and how money and values relate together, and then how to actually identify what your values are. Some of you may already have an idea or know. If so, this will be a refresher, and if not, this is going to be sort of the start of trying to understand what that is. But before we get into that, I'll just take you through to my next slide, which is just a bunch of questions which you can answer in your own heads, and I'll go through what the answers are for me, just so that you can sort of understand where this is coming from. So, what does money mean to you? It's something that we probably aren't overly conscious of, because money is just something that we pay bills, we have superannuation. It's just kind of there. But what does it actually mean for us? And then why do we want to change our current relationship or approach with money? So having a current starting point, whether we're happy with that or not, there's always changes that we might have in our heads that we'd like to do, improvements generally to make. So that's what that's getting at. And then what are some of the money statements that we grew up with? There's lots of things out there. Money doesn't grow on trees, but the things that we actually heard and kind of internalized, and they're usually the ones that have stuck in our heads for many years as well. And then what do you call values, and what's most important to you in life? So in terms of the first question, what does money mean to you? For me, money means having choice. So being able to choose the things that I spend my money on, the types of holidays to go on, the type of work that I do. So money is really just that tool to enable choice, and make the decisions from a place that we want to rather than have to. So that's what it means to me. But there's no right or wrong answers in any of this. So just have to think about that for yourself. And in terms of changing an approach to money, this will change over time. So as you're younger, you start to accumulate. You have to furnish a house, you need crockery, cutlery, that kind of thing. And you have a child, furnish their bedroom, make sure that they've got all the things they need to stay alive in the beginning, and then to keep them comfortable and learning as they get older. So when you sort of pass a lot of that area, for me at the moment, it's about minimizing. So, and helping also cut out all of the throwaway things. So, I've gone through looking at ways to get rid of all the rags and things, and being a bit more conscious about the things that we buy, so it's not so much sort of stuff. So that's the approach that I want to have, and that's still an ongoing journey for me. So have a think about what that is for yourself, where you are at the moment, things that you've done in the past, the way you want to be going forward. And then some of the money statements, I mentioned one before, money doesn't grow on trees. And there's also the classic penny wise, pound foolish. But it's also the sorts of behavior and wording that you experienced from your family and your close environment as you're growing up. And I grew up with my parents, who were both immigrants. They didn't earn a whole lot in the early days. And then once they'd started to establish themselves a bit and they started to earn money, they didn't really know what to do with it. So quite often it went out just as quickly as it came in. So my reaction to that was to save and hoard became like a squirrel with my acorns. So when that Acorns app, which is now called Raise, came out, I was like, oh, this is speaking to me. I remember hoarding my acorns. But then it was all still quite reactionary. I hadn't really figured out consciously what I wanted to do with those savings. So it's still something to actually think about how your upbringing relates to your approach or your relationship with money. And in terms of core values, which we'll go through a bit later on, my 3 core values are creativity, discernment, and control. So creativity has nothing to do with being artistic. It's more to create something that wasn't there before is there now because I got to create it. So the Money Made Simple course, which I'll talk about a bit later as well, created immense joy for me because I got to create it. So this is where when things feel good, quite often they're aligned with one of your values. And then discernment for me is being able to have choice. So that's where money means choice to me, relates back to one of my values. And then also control is more being able to control the decisions that I make as well, and the things that impact myself and my world. So my core values underpin a lot of my world. And when I came to know them, it made realizations for me of where I was, why I'd made the decisions I'd made, why things I'd tried to do didn't work. So it really is, I know it might sound a little bit like psychoanalyzing or overanalyzing things, but once you understand this and you do a bit of work on it, it just kind of becomes part of your day-to-day. You don't have to think about it quite so much. And then what's most important in your life? For me, it's family, being able to do what we want, have the ability to choose the things that we want to do. So that's what's important to me. And again, these questions will be different for everyone. And on the topic of lifestyle, there we go. Ooh, too far there. Yeah, sorry, there we go. A pictorial. So this is always a good thing too. We tend to have it in our mind's eye, but it's again being conscious of it, so that when you think of the things and you look at the things around you in your life, you're like, oh, this is what's important to me. So here's a bit of a collage of some things that are important to me, and a few of you will recognize these anyway. So my old car, it is over 20 years old, and I've nearly had it for 20 years. So it's paintwork. It looks a bit interesting. I just thought it looked like a rash, which it actually does. That was quite clever. Bicycling, I like to try and bicycle places now rather than drive. I've been able to get back on my bike recently after falling off. And then family, travel, adventure sports, bungee jumping, I will not do though. And then some other chocolate. And to balance out the chocolate, because life is about balance, is my veggie garden. So these are the sorts of things, and you generally find pictures or things like this around your house of what's important to you. So when you're making your decisions about money, think of what's important to you, and if that decision will help you get closer to achieving that vision. Now we'll get into the nitty-gritty, I suppose, of what we're here to cover. So first we'll look at what are values, and then, like I said, we'll have a look at how your values help you with your money, so linking those two together. And then we'll go through an exercise of how to actually identify what your 3 top values are. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult to do in a sort of one-way environment. So this is just going to be more of a taster than anything else. So in terms of values, what are they? They're an internal compass, really. They become a bit of a guide, a preference. There's a number of different ways to express it. Some people may even think it's sort of a bit of a gut feel, but knowing what they are, being able to put words to them actually becomes quite important too, because then you can understand it better, make decisions more consciously, because as humans, we like to communicate, and we communicate with words. So being able to put words around those values helps us to connect with them better, and also be able to connect the decisions that we make better. So you'll start to see how these things link together. And hopefully this is all making sense as well. So values will also be like being that compass. They also create more that foundation, the underpinning the decisions we make, the thoughts we have, the reactions we have to things as well. So for instance, during the lockdowns, I'm getting better at managing this now, but I found them quite difficult because I lost my ability to choose, so that discernment factor. So I just had to reframe how I made the choices of what I did with my day rather than where I couldn't go. So it's understanding the things that are causing you angst and then being able to deal with it better, because you can connect it back to how it's either serving or not serving a core value that you have. And then values, they do evolve over time. They don't necessarily change too much, and they're not situational either. So it's not like you're in a particular situation. There might be some peer pressure. You're in an environment where it might be, you know, rowdy, social kind of environment, and you sort of, your values go out the window. Even if you do something that isn't aligned with your values, you will feel pretty awful about it. So even though your value itself hasn't changed, the behavior around it may alter, or you may do things that aren't aligned with your values. And equally, when you do things that are aligned, it feels good. You know, there's a different sort of approach to it. You think, okay, all right, yeah, no, this feels good. Sometimes you can't explain it. It's a little bit of that gut feel kind of thing as well. When you have the words to put around it, it does make it easy to explain. And so long as you understand it, that's really all that matters. So that's what values are. And then how they actually help you with money is they allow you to choose, and they help you make conscious decisions in relation to things like your income. So how you actually earn your income, the things that you are happy to do. You might not always be in your dream job, but you know when you're not, for example, and then you can maybe start to figure out, again, lifestyle, the things that you enjoy doing. Looking at your values, you might actually be able to make some more conscious choices to look at work that may actually get you there. It might require some study. It might require sort of a development opportunity within an existing organization that you work for, but it does impact how you actually choose to earn your income. And then your values will also impact what you spend your money on. So if you have a value, and your lifestyle that you have in mind comes into play there as well. So when, just as an example, for me right now, I'm on a particular sort of fitness and health plan. So when I'm at the supermarket, I look at the things that I want to buy, and there's some stuff for the family, but then if it's for me, I'll be like, is this going to help me reach the goal that I want to achieve, or is it not? And you may think you're overthinking it. It's just a supermarket, but it's just more symbolic of how we apply our values to, and spending the money in this case, which is on groceries, which things we'll eat, but it also then impacts the lifestyle that you want to achieve. So that's the spending just on expenses. Then also comes the debt side of things as well. So when you take out a loan for something, if it's going to help you achieve the lifestyle you want, and there's an investment element to it, then that is possibly going to be the right way to go. But again, it'll be your personal circumstances. But you think about your values before you spend, rather than just arbitrarily going for something and then later trying to figure out, so was that really the right choice? Oh, I really shouldn't have done that, because all of us have done that. And even though you know your values, it doesn't mean you're going to make perfect choices every time. We're human. We grow and evolve and we learn, but at least helps make things a bit more conscious, but rather than having to always look backwards, helps us look forwards. And then saving money. So how we save money, why we save money, what we're saving it for. It's difficult to save or to really do much unless we have, and I use this word a little bit cringingly, goal. So it's not about goal setting per se, but it's understanding what our values are, what is the lifestyle we want, and how we choose to spend. So I have what I call the money pie, which is how you carve up your income and what you want to save things for. And it aligns to what I have in my head as the vision of the lifestyle I want, keeping in mind what my values are. So it all starts to link together. And then investing is very much part of that as well. So when you start to get to the point where you're in control of your spending, and you start to get your debt down, you're organizing your savings, and you have a plan or a vision for that. And then you can start to invest to begin to grow that wealth even more. And even if not at the moment superannuation, you're an investor. So understanding what it is that you want to achieve, how to structure the portfolio you have in your super and what you end up doing with that to achieve the lifestyle you want, how much money you'll need, depending on what lifestyle you want, impacts the decisions that you make about the investments, whether it's inside super or outside super. And then ways you choose to give back. So that's something that I'm personally quite passionate about. It's not something that everybody wants to do, but about 8 years ago now, as part of a Business Chicks and the Hunger Project program, I went to Uganda to see the work that they were doing there. And it was really extraordinary and quite humbling to actually watch what people did with the lives and the money that they had. And that really is about a lifestyle they're trying to achieve as well. And the money is just there to help them achieve that. And for many of them, it's to be able to survive. Some of them begin to thrive, but so it was pretty humbling for me to be able to do that. So for me, that is an important part. And you might also, I don't know if you're familiar with my Money Made Simple course at all, these are the 5 pillars. So your values underpin everything that we go through in the course. And it all links through and creates a certain amount of consistency as well, so that you can be more conscious about those money decisions and then the lifestyle that you want to achieve at the end of it as well. So we'll get into a little exercise now about what are your values. So it takes a bit of introspection, and if you have pen and paper, you can write these down, or if you prefer to type them. But there is something magical about the linkage between the brain and the hand holding the pen. I'm a big writer, and then I'll take you through the process. It is easier to do in a one-on-one environment. So at the end of this, I actually offer a free values discovery call just to help kickstart that process. But I have got it in here as well just to help get things going. So I'll move into that. So what I'd like you, don't think about this too much. Just look at the list on the screen and pick out the 5 words that stand out to you the most. Don't think of why they stand out to you. Just look at them and write down the 5. It might be a little bit more than that if you find more that appeal to you. But don't look at the reasons. Just write down the 5. So I'll give you a moment to have a read through that full list, because there are quite a few there. And then if you pick out the 5 that really resonate or that stand out, you might look at them and just go, oh, that one, oh, that one. Oh yeah, no, I like that one better. So you might write one, cross one down, cross one out, and put another one in its place. However that works for you. This is quite a quick way of doing it. But the reason I say don't overthink it, it's kind of like a multiple choice test where you're like, oh, I'll pick B. Oh, no, I want C. Oh, is it maybe A? So if you start thinking about it too much and change your answer, then usually that's when you'll end up getting it wrong. Not that there's a right or wrong in this particular instance, but it does help you end up with something that's a little bit more authentic. So I'll give you another minute or so to pick those. And it can be quite a fun exercise, but yeah. All right, I will move down to, so now if you write them in order, take your top 5, write them in order, and then the top 3 there, again, don't overthink that. And I have there provisionally your core values. The reason I say that is because this is a very one-way process at the moment. It's difficult to sort of do that without really engaging. Just as an example, I've done values work myself, and I've been to some courses, and then I actually spent a day with somebody one-on-one. I took an entire day to really start to discern down what my core values were, because one of them that I thought was there, we actually had to kind of unpack that word and get it right to the right one, because that word I just wasn't really relating to. It sounded okay, but it just wasn't quite right. So that's why I'm saying provisionally, but it's a good place to start at least, and it can get you thinking already about how your life has evolved if you look at your values in comparison to your money and the lifestyle that you have now and what you would like it to be. So to that, we've got a couple of options for things next. Like I said, there is a free values discovery call. Feel free to mention this to anybody else that you like as well. I do have it on my website, so if anybody wants to have a bit more of a read. Then there's also the course itself, which also there's more information on my website too. And those 5 pillars, the income, spending, saving, investing and giving back, it's all, there's a lot of detail. The course has videos to support it, as well as screen capture videos to actually take you through the activities, and everything builds on itself as well. So you don't necessarily redo things, but it does all kind of have to happen sequentially, because you get one thing right, then you move on to the next, and you move on to the next. So we delve into a lot of detail about how to save money in certain areas, how to cut expenses, look at your debt, how to get rid of that, what things to do to simplify things as well. All about simplicity, especially when it comes to money, because if you don't want to think about it on a daily basis, you can put some stuff on autopilot. And that could also go for the saving and investing too. So it's quite easy to put some of that on autopilot. So yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any questions that they'd like to go through. No? Okay, that's all right. So if you do have anything that you'd like to know, please shoot me an email, have a look on the Facebook page, which you came through. And thank you very much for dialing in.